Hello everybody, it's Murray here and welcome back to my channel, M Stuart Paintings. On today's acrylic painting tutorial, we're going to paint this gorgeous red sunset landscape scene. I'm going to teach you how to do an underpainting so you can paint a realistic waves, realistic water and a realistic beach. I'm going to teach you how to apply highlights and shadows to create sea foam and lovely shimmer in your ocean water so you can create this gorgeous acrylic landscape painting. So let's get into it. So it's a real easy tutorial today, but you'll need the following colours. They are white, yellow, orange, red, a dot of green, some purple, some blue and some black. Now I have a canvas that I've painted burnt sienna and I've used chalk to create an outline. So we're going to have the sun right in the centre and we're going to have the horizon right in the middle of the canvas. We're going to have a diagonal line for the ocean, some wash that comes up on the beach, some shiny sand that matches the sky tone and the sand in the corner just to frame it. So I'm going to get some yellow and I'm just going to create some heat around my sun while we block it all in. And I'm just going to get some lovely orange and just mix the two tones together just to create some heat around my sun. And I'm just going to get some white just to pop in my sun just so I know where it is. Now we're going to paint the whole composition this really bright peach tone, and I'll show you how to make it in a little minute, but I'm just going to lather the tone on. But all it is red, orange and some yellow, and you should get this gorgeous peach tone. So as I say, in a minute I will show you exactly how to break it down and how to mix it, but we just want to block in our painting. So just like usual, acrylics are really streaky and they're a bit watery, so we just want to create a base layer that we can just put over the burnt sienna just so we know that we've got everything covered on our canvas. So everyone asks me, why do I paint my canvas burnt sienna? Well, one of the reasons is because I have a dark tone in the burnt sienna. If I'm using pastel tones such as this peach tone, I can see areas of the canvas that I've missed, and it just shows up a lot easier than white. And also I can see where I need to thicken up the paint, because as I say, acrylics are quite thin and they're quite streaky. Sometimes it just needs a second coat. So we've got our sun nice and positioned here, and what we're going to do is we're going to use the exact same tone to create the shimmer of the wet sand, that when the water and all our beach waves retract, it leaves this gorgeous wet shiny sand. And because our sky, no matter what colour your sky is, if you do the same tone for your wet sand, you should get this lovely composition. So it's a real easy trick. And while I've got that tone, I'm just going to create just an underpainting, just leaving bits of gaps of the burnt sienna just to fill up areas of my ocean, just so I've got a rough matching colour that is the same as the sky. So as I say, I don't really mind if it's a bit messy, I don't mind if it's a bit streaky. It's just so we can block in just a base tone, just so when we put the shadows and the highlights over the top, we can see where everything is. So I'm just going to get some cobalt blue, and all I'm going to do is just create a rough outline of where my wave is, just so I know for in a minute when we put all the detail and the shadows and everything on, I just know where everything is. And I'm just going to mix some orange and black together. So just some orange, black, a tiny bit of purple. I'm just going to create this really sort of cool brown tone. I'm just going to put in the dark sand in this corner just to frame the composition. So again, don't worry if it's all scruffy. Acrylics are very scruffy when you begin. That's totally normal. So if you give it a dry with a hairdryer, you should have this nice dry composition. Now I'm going to show you how to make the tone for the sky. So it's red and orange, but more red than orange, and a little bit of yellow, and you should get the colour that I've got in the bottom left here that's dripping off my palette. And it's this gorgeous bright peach tone. Now my one, if you can see closely, has lots of streaks where the burnt sienna is shining through, because as I say, acrylic paints are really watery. Sometimes you just need to dry it with a hairdryer and just reapply a second layer of the same tones just to cover up that burnt sienna and just to cover up all the bits of your canvas that you've missed. Just so where canvas has a lovely texture, you can just go over the top and just reapply your paint just to make it look smoother, and you can blend obviously the tones just to make them look more professional. And by just going over the tone with acrylics, it also just makes them brighter. Now I've got a flat brush here, so just a completely flat brush, and all I'm going to do with that tone is just draw lines just so they look like the water is peeling back from our beach. So it's just to create the illusion, just drawing diagonal lines in the same tone as that lovely peach tone into our dark sand, just so it looks like it's retracting back. Now I keep emphasizing a lot of these tutorials are really easy, but it really helps you if you have the equipment. So this is a blender brush. Now a blender brush is almost like a makeup brush. It's just this incredibly soft bristle brush, and it's so soft to the touch, and it's dry, so it's really gentle. And all you do is you load it up with paint. So all I've done is load it up with some yellow and orange, and it's really good for blending. So we want to create some heat around our sun. So our sunset is gorgeous and reddy peach, but we want to really emphasize our sun to draw the viewer in and to get them to look straight down the middle. So all I'm doing is just using this really fantastic brush that is just so soft. You can buy them literally online for maybe £1 or $1. They are super cheap, and all you have to do, look, is just smooth it into your sky, and we're just creating this illusion of heat around our sun. Now thank you everyone who's been supporting the channel and subscribing already. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. And all I'm going to do, look, watch, with that blender brush, I'm just going to mirror that glow from the sun just in our wash on our beach. So again, it's just mirroring the sky. All I'm doing, if you just think of the horizon like a mirror, and we've just got a piece of glass mirroring the sky, all I'm doing is trying to mirror the sort of heat and the colour and the tone which is above in the sky with the beach and the wet sand below it. So that's starting to look fantastic. So let's put our sun in, and the reason we've got our sun dead bang in the middle is to draw the viewer's eyes into it. So please dry your painting, measure a straight line, and just apply some painting tape. And then what we're going to do, we're going to mix the colour for our seas. So we're going to get some cobalt blue, a dot of green, some more blue than green just to make it nice and dark. We're going to add a little bit of white, just a little bit, because white sucks out colour, so we don't want to suck out too much. And add a little bit of purple, and a little bit of red. Now the reason we're putting a bit of red in is just to match a bit of heat from the sky tone. So we should have this greeny bluey purple colour. I don't even know how to describe it. And we're going to go right up with our flat brush to create a nice harsh border. So if you think this is going to be a horizon, you want to go right up to the tape so you can create a lovely straight line, and then your horizon will be lovely and straight. Because you've measured it and you've used a ruler or some tape, you can create this lovely straight line. Now because our brush is completely flat, all we're going to do is we're going to leave gaps in the underpainting, and we're going to create flat waves. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to use that tone to create a big large shadow for a big wave. So I'm just going to create a diagonal wonky line, and that's going to just be some shadow. And all I'm going to do, look, watch, I'm just leaving gaps in the underpainting, and I'm just creating the illusions of shadows as the wave caps. So if you imagine a wave, all I'm doing is using that flat brush just to create the illusion of detail. And where we've got areas of burnt sienna showing through, I'm just going to turn them into some waves and some shadows. So there's never ever a problem. You can always paint over things, you can always jig things about and change things. And as the water comes towards the beach, I'm just going to darken up this sort of detail, and I'm going to darken up this left hand corner. So this is the area I'm going to make the darkest with that tone, just because it's getting the least amount of sunlight. So it's just in the far shade. So all I'm doing, look, I'm just trying to create the illusion of detail. And while I've got that tone, it's a really nice tone, I'm just going to create the illusion of divots on my sand. So again, I'm just using the underpainting as the dark tone, and I'm just leaving gaps, so when I remove my tape, voila, a nice straight horizon. Now if you're like me and you're a bit scruffy, you've got some chalk or you've missed some paint, don't worry, we can go over that later. But we're going to mix some white and some purple, and we're going to mix some blue into that. So purple and white and a little bit of cobalt blue, but more white than anything, okay? And what we're going to do, we're going to create this lovely sort of dark shadow tone for all our foam. So as we just add a little bit of black just to suck a bit of the colour, and a tiny dot of green, and all the green does is just make it look a bit more realistic, a bit more like ocean water. So let's add some more purple, just make it a little bit cooler, and some more blue, why not? And we're going to make all the sort of sea foam and wash as it comes across our beach. So if you imagine, this area is going to still be quite a cool tone, but we want to create the sort of carpet look of the ocean water as it comes up onto the wet sand of our beach. So all we're trying to do, if you just imagine, we're trying to outline our wave to create that lovely sort of foam border that this ocean water comes up onto the beach, almost like a moving liquid carpet. And what we're trying to do is just create that nice border, and by leaving gaps in the dark shadow tone that's underneath, we're going to create the illusion of a wave. So look, all I'm doing is just leaving gaps. I'm just creating the illusion of a wave. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create some areas that join up to our border, but we're going to go diagonally, and we're just going to create sort of zigzags and splats. So we're going to go diagonally, and we're going to create the illusion of sea foam. So this is all the sort of water that's really, really shallow, that retracts back, and it creates that lovely sort of sea foam. But as it's coming towards the beach and it's further away from that boiling hot sun, and because almost like it's a very dark silhouetted area, it's still going to be quite cool. So that's why we've got this bluey purpley tone. So look, all I'm doing is creating sort of zigzags, again just to create the illusion of sea foam, but it's the underpainting underneath it that's tricking your eyes, because obviously all the colours match with the sky above to make it look realistic. So we're going to take some blue and some purple, so bluey purple, and a little red just to warm it up, and some black. So we've got this much darker tone now, and we're just going to add a tiny bit of white to it, just suck out a little bit of the colour, a little bit more black just to make it darker. So we've got this darker tone now of the similar colour, and all we're going to do is we're just, with our flat brush, we're just going to go underneath our wave, and we're just going to create a darker shadow. So I think we need to add some more black to the mix just to make it darker. Now the reason we're darkening it by just adding a little bit of purple is we're getting closer towards the viewer, so we're getting further away from the sun, so that shadow, all I'm doing is going underneath the foam and creating a really nice dark shadow. And by creating a dark shadow underneath the wave, what we're doing is we're just making it more 3D, making it more emphasized, and it's darker in tone because it's coming towards the viewer. So we're getting away from the sun, so the shadows are going to be much more harsher and darker. So I'm just going to put some rivets in my water, and I'm going to swap to a thinner brush, and all I'm going to do is outline my ocean wave that's coming up to the beach, and I'm just going to create a shadow underneath it. So if you imagine, this is just to create a border. What that does, again, it just makes the water look more 3D, like it's coming up towards the beach, and it just makes our ocean look more realistic. So it's a really, really easy trick. By just using a darker tone, we're just emphasizing it. Now if you're like me and you've just missed areas where you've got a bit of the burnt sienna, or it's just a bit scruffy, you can just go over it with some tape and just neaten it up. Where I used a tape measure to measure my horizon, I scraped the canvas like the pro I am. But I am going to create a lighter tone while I've got that tape on, just white and cobalt blue. So lots of white and some cobalt blue. And I'm just going to create a slight highlight, but still very cool blue, but just add a little bit of purple just to add to our sea foam, just to emphasize our wave, just so as it comes crashing into the shore, just by again leaving gaps, just highlighting certain areas. All I'm doing is just where that sun is catching those waves coming from the middle, you're going to have a little bits of sunlight hitting those sort of sea froth as it comes towards the beach, sort of splashes up. So if I remove my tape, Shazam! Wicked! And I'll just emphasize my sun a bit more. So as I say, with acrylics, especially with highlights, sometimes you just have to go over them. So all I'm doing is mixing some yellow, some white, a tiny bit of that peach color that we had earlier, just to create a bright yellowy orange highlight. And I'm just going to sort of trickle down and create sort of highlights on the caps of waves, just to create a shimmer from our sun. So if you imagine the sun is shining downwards towards the beach and it's coming towards the viewer, so all we're trying to do is just match that to give our work a more 3D look. So look, all I'm doing with that lighter tone and using a small brush, again just trying to create sort of zigzag shapes. I'm just trying to create sort of the ripples or the shimmer on our wet sand as it comes towards the beach. And again, it's just an emphasis on realism. Oops, I've got a bit of a dirty brush there. And it's just to give our work just a bit more of a realistic tone. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to go right down the middle of the colour we just did with bright yellow. So all I'm using is nothing but yellow, just really, really bright yellow. And I'm just trying to create a shimmer effect coming down. Just trying to go around our sea froth and again onto that wet sand, just to really emphasize the light effect of our sunset as it hits that wet sand. So look, just tricking the eye. And then lastly, we're going to put some shimmer in. So we're going to mix lots of white into our yellow, so more white than anything. And all I'm doing is creating little crosses to create some little shimmers. So I have this tone pre-mixed, but all it is white with a little bit of yellow, and I'm just going to emphasize the froth in the middle because that's where it's getting the most sunlight. So again, look, all we're doing is just creating sort of a shimmer of that sunlight onto our beach. Hey, this is looking funky. So look, just by creating little dots and little star shapes, so imagine just drawing a little cross, you can create sort of those little lovely shimmers on the ocean water. Now if we mix just some orange and yellow together, I'm just going to create a highlight either side, just so that shimmer isn't too harsh in the dead bang middle. So all I'm doing is just going either side of our shimmer, just to make the transition a bit softer into our ocean water, just so it looks just like our sun, where it has this nice glow about it around the harsh light. So we've got this nice orangey yellow surrounding the bright white almost. So again, it's just to mirror the sky onto the ocean below it. So where I've got my tape now, I've just missed a little bit. So I've straightened up my horizon and I'm going to get some orange and some purple. Sorry it's off camera, but it's just orange and purple. And you should get this lovely sort of tan colour by just adding again a tiny bit of red, just heating it up. I didn't realise how zoomed in I was. There we go, a nice tan colour. And all I'm going to do is just go over the horizon tone, just underneath the sun and blend it into the dark tone. And that's just again to trick the viewer's eyes. It's just to make it look like that sunlight is softening up that horizon, because obviously that light is so bright, it's making the tones underneath it look a bit brighter and more in tune with the sunlight. So again, if we remove our tape, yay, it gives a less harsh horizon line under our sun. Now I want to make our sun really pop, so I think I'm just, while it's dry now, I'm just going to blend again with my blender brush. So I'm just taking some orange and yellow, and that's the great thing about acrylic paints. You can just go over the top and just really emphasize things just with the same colors. So just using, now it's dry, you can reapply colors, and being that the sky is dry, just adding yellow and white over the top can really make a difference. But that's a bit too harsh, so all I'm going to do is take the sky color, and again with the blender brush just blend those two tones together, and that looks fantastic. Look at that. Oh, I love blender brushes, they're so easy. So as I say, things like, don't worry so much when you first start buying expensive paints. Paints are not really your issue. I'm just getting some black here, and I'm just making this bottom right corner a bit darker just to frame the composition. Yeah, what I was going to say, things like a fan brush, a blender brush, a fine liner and a flat brush are the key tools of the trade, and you can buy a set of that for maybe £5. So you don't need expensive brushes, you don't need expensive paints, you just need the tools and belief in yourself. So I'm just mixing some black and some blue, and I'm just going to emphasize my waves a little bit more just to make them stand out because they're a bit flat. Yeah, so things like fan brushes are wonderful for things like trees and leaves and detail like grass, and things like blender brushes make your life so much easier. These flat brushes are absolutely brilliant for doing outlines. So just investing in a set of brushes, and again they don't have to be expensive, it's more the types of brushes. You can cheat and use them to do the work for you, like me. So look, all I'm doing is I'm using my paint, and all I'm doing is just emphasizing the highlights. Now they dry by just going over the top. As I say, sometimes with things like white, you just have to give them 2 coats just to make the acrylics stand out, just to make your work look brilliant. So that sunlight underneath the sun should draw your eye to the middle, and I think she's finished. So I've signed her in the bottom corner. You've learned how to do a wonderful sky that matches the wet sand. So no matter what colour you have the sky, you match it in the wet sand. You've learned how to do a realistic wave, how to do a shimmer effect, and how to bring your ocean water with your sea froth and everything towards the beach, and how to frame your composition. So a fantastic painting. As I say, we have plenty of landscape tutorials on my channel now. There is plenty of painting tutorials. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed it, please like and subscribe so other artists can see our paintings. So thank you very much for watching. My name is Murray, and I hope you all take care. See you soon. Bye.